Can you imagine climbing into an American car from the 80s that could leave Ferrari and Porsche in the dust without breaking a sweat? This decade didn't just give us unforgettable music and iconic movies. It also brought some of the most brutal muscle cars, sports cars, and sleepers in history. Today, we're going to discover together the 10 fastest American cars of the 1980s, legendary machines with V8 engines, wild turbos, and designs that defined an era. And I'm warning you, when you hear their stories and see their speed figures, you're going to feel that rush of adrenaline that only classic cars can deliver. If you love American classics, powerful muscle cars, and legends on wheels, hit like on this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because here, we celebrate the passion for engines with no filters. Get ready. This is going to hook you. 1983 to 1988 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS. If there was ever a car that captured the spirit of NASCAR and brought it straight to the street, this was it. In a decade when raw power was starting to give way to regulations and efficiency, this coupe appeared as a reminder that racing DNA still beats strongly under the hood. The story of the Monte Carlo SS begins with a very clear need from Chevrolet to homologate a competitive car for the NASCAR series. To do this, they took the elegant Monte Carlo body and transformed it into something much more aggressive, incorporating an aerodynamic front end with that unmistakable arrow nose and a rear spoiler that wasn't just for show. It was a declaration of intent. Everything about its design radiated character and presence, as if warning you in advance that this was no ordinary coupe. Under that long hood lived a reliable and robust 5.0-liter V8 that produced around 180 horsepower. Today, that might sound like a modest figure, but in an era of emission regulations and strangled carburetors, it was enough for this Monte Carlo to reach a top speed close to 118 miles per hour, leaving plenty of rivals behind. Plus, its power delivery was linear and punchy, accompanied by a deep growl that reminded you of its track pedigree. One of the most interesting things about this model is that Chevrolet didn't just develop it for marketing. It was a genuine homologation machine. So much so that in 1986, they released the Era Coupe version with a more steeply sloped rear window and optimized aerodynamics so the car could slice through the air on superspeedways and stay glued to the pavement at over 186 miles per hour in race configuration. Today, the Monte Carlo SS is considered an accessible classic and a highly valued collector's piece among fans of 80s muscle cars and NASCAR history. Its market price varies depending on condition and rarity. A well-preserved example can cost between $20,000 and $40,000, while an original Aero Coupe in perfect condition can exceed $60,000. 1988 Pontiac Fiero GT. If there was ever a car that broke all the molds and dared to do something completely different in the American automotive industry, this was it. In an era dominated by muscle cars with massive V8s, Pontiac decided to look in another direction and create a compact, lightweight sports car with a rear mid-engine layout. It was a bold move that turned the Fiero into an unrepeatable icon of the 1980s. The Fiero was born with the idea of being an affordable and efficient car, but its design ended up seducing enthusiasts who were looking for a more European driving experience. The GT version, launched in 1985 and perfected in 1988, was the ultimate evolution of the concept. Under its rear hood beat a 2.8-liter V6, capable of producing 140 horsepower. That might not sound like an outrageous number today, but thanks to its low weight and balanced distribution, this Pontiac could accelerate with surprising agility and reach a top speed close to 124 miles per hour. The most fascinating part was the driving experience. The Fiero GT delivered sensations no other American car of the time could offer. Its low stance, direct steering, and the feeling of being pushed by the rear axle made every corner more thrilling than the numbers suggested. It was, literally, a little mid-engine sports car built for those who love to drive. Visually, the Fiero GT is a car that screams 80s in every line of its body. Its pop-up headlights, side air intakes, and that short rear end with taillights integrated into a black strip were details that made it unmistakable. It was a design ahead of its time, and even today, it retains a unique personality. In 1988, Pontiac decided to say goodbye to the Fiero with a GT version tuned to the max, featuring improved suspension, bigger brakes, and refinements that finally gave it the sporty handling it always deserved. Ironically, just when it had reached its peak, production was canceled for cost and internal strategy reasons. Today, the Pontiac Fiero GT is a rarity, highly appreciated by collectors and enthusiasts who value its different approach. A well-preserved example can be found in the $15,000 to $30,000 range, but its emotional value, that mix of nostalgia and rebellion, has no price. 1986 to 1987 Dodge Shelby Charger GLH. Did you know there was an American car in the 80s capable of humiliating plenty of V8s at the stoplight despite having just a four-cylinder engine? It sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. That little turbocharged missile was called the Shelby Charger, and its story is one of the most fascinating of the decade. In the mid-80s, Carroll Shelby, the legendary tuner behind the iconic Cobra and the Daytona Coupe, decided it was time to return to his roots, creating lightweight, powerful machines with razor-sharp handling. Shelby looked at the humble Dodge Charger, a compact front-wheel drive car with a modest engine, and saw the potential to turn it into a wild hot hatch. That's how the GLHS was born. Goes like hell s'more, which basically means goes like hell, and a little more. Under its hood was a small but fierce 2.2-liter turbocharged engine producing 175 horsepower, a figure that, combined with its light weight of just about 2,535 pounds, gave it an impressive power-to-weight ratio for its time. Thanks to that recipe, this Charger GLHS could accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds and reach a top speed of around 127 miles per hour, leaving plenty of big muscle cars behind in the first few yards. The handling was equally surprising. Shelby didn't just boost the engine, he tuned the suspension, reinforced the chassis, and mounted sport tires that improved traction. The result was a car that felt nervous, direct, and agile in every corner, a true American pocket rocket built for those who wanted pure driving sensations no matter how big the engine was. Visually, the GLHS had details that made it special: contrasting stripes, exclusive Shelby badges, black wheels, and an interior with sporty touches that reminded you this was a machine signed by a legend. Even its name became a nod for enthusiasts, a sort of secret password confirming you were driving something different. A fun fact is that only 1,000 units of the GLHS were produced, which today makes it a highly sought-after collector's item. In today's market, a well-preserved example can fetch between $25,000 and $40,000, a price that reflects both its historical value and its unique character. And now, I want to know something about you. If you had to choose between this Dodge Shelby GLHS with its turbo heart and hot hatch spirit or the Pontiac Fiero GT with its mid-engine and futuristic design, which one would you take home? Write it in the comments. 1987 to 1993, Cadillac Alante. If we're talking about the fastest and most sophisticated American cars of the 80s, the Alante holds a special place. This wasn't a muscle car obsessed with raw brutality, nor a pure sports car fixated on lap times. It was something different, an exercise in prestige, European design, and advanced technology meant to prove that Cadillac could compete with the great luxury convertibles from Mercedes and Jaguar. The story of the Alante began with an idea that sounded insane. Take the chassis of a Cadillac in the United States, fly it to Turin, Italy, where Pininfarina would build the body and interior by hand, and then bring it back to Detroit for final assembly. Each unit traveled thousands of miles before it ever drove a single meter on the street. This costly and complex process was proudly nicknamed the most expensive airline in the world, an anecdote that today is part of its legend. Under the hood, the Alante hit a 4.1-liter 5.8 engine that produced 170 horsepower in its early versions, later upgraded to a 4.5-liter with 200 horsepower. While it didn't boast extreme power figures, its smooth, progressive delivery, combined with its relatively lightweight, allowed this Cadillac to surpass 130 miles per hour. Something remarkable for an American luxury cabriolet of the time. One interesting detail is that the Alante was one of the first Cadillacs to offer advanced electronic fuel injection and a digital information system, technologically ahead of many of its European rivals. However, its high price, nearly double that of a brand-new Corvette, limited its sales and made it a very exclusive niche car. In total, just over 21,000 units were produced, which today makes it a rare classic, valued by collectors who appreciate its story and unique Italo-American origin. Currently, a well-preserved Alante can be found for prices ranging from $15,000 to $30,000, although low-mileage, meticulously maintained examples can go well beyond that. 1984 to 1986. Mercury Capri ASC McLaren. Have you ever imagined owning an American convertible so exclusive that practically no one in your city would have ever seen one in person? A car that combined the roar of a classic V8 with a handcrafted touch of a limited edition model built almost by hand. Few cars capture the spirit of those years as well as this exclusive convertible. The story began with a collaboration between Mercury, Ford's sister brand, and ASC McLaren, the engineering company that customized some of the most special projects of the era. The result was a sports car with a unique character, blending classic muscle car performance, convertible design, and the aura of a limited edition that made it an instant object of desire. The Capri's technical foundation came from the Fox body platform, the same one shared by the Mustang and the standard Capri. But here's where the story gets interesting. ASC McLaren took on the job of completely transforming Mercury's coupes. The hardtop disappeared to make way for an elegant convertible with a high-quality soft top, a lower windshield, and a completely redesigned rear end. It was a car that felt handcrafted, almost custom-built. Under the hood, beat a reliable and powerful 5.0-liter V8, which in its upgraded versions could produce over 250 horsepower. A respectable figure in an era of strict emissions regulations and the fading of carburetors. Thanks to that power and its relatively low weight, the Capri McLaren could reach a top speed close to 130 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest American convertibles of its time. A fun fact is that while many people associate McLaren only with European supercars, this American division actually worked on a wide variety of projects, and the Capri convertible was one of the most iconic. Each unit went through an expensive and meticulous conversion process that pushed the final price far above other Mercury models. Between 1984 and 1986, only about 1,500 units were produced, which today makes them extremely rare. Currently, a Capri McLaren in excellent condition can fetch prices ranging from $25,000 to $50,000. 1985 to 1990, Chevrolet Camaro IROC-Z. Do you remember when just seeing a Camaro on the street made your heart race? When its low, sharp, aggressive silhouette was enough for everyone to know you were looking at a serious car with attitude and power. The name IROC-Z comes from the International Race of Champions, a competition where the most famous drivers from different disciplines competed on equal terms, all behind the wheel of specially prepared Camaros. To celebrate that racing spirit, Chevrolet created this special version, which not only looked more aggressive, but also offered real performance upgrades that made it stand out from any other pony car of the era. Under the hood, the IROC-Z could be equipped with two engine options, a 5.0-liter V8 with tuned port injection, TPI, or the even more coveted 5.7-liter, which produced up to 245 horsepower, a figure that was nothing to scoff at in the second half of the 80s. With the right transmission and a driver with a heavy right foot, this Camaro could reach a top speed of around 137 miles per hour, placing it among the fastest American cars of its decade. But it wasn't just about speed. The IROC-Z had a stiffer chassis, sport suspension, thicker stabilizer bars, 16-inch wheels, and high-performance tires that gave it surprisingly precise handling. It was a car that felt glued to the road and inspired confidence when attacking corners, something many rivals couldn't match. A fun fact is that the IROC-Z appeared in countless TV shows, movies, and music videos, becoming a cultural symbol. If you grew up in the 80s or early 90s, you probably saw it on screen as much as you did in the streets. Today, the Camaro IROC-Z is a coveted classic. Prices vary a lot depending on condition and engine, but a well-preserved example can exceed $35,000, and versions with the 5.7 and low mileage can approach $50,000. 1987 to 1993, Ford Mustang GT 5.0. This car marked a rebirth for the pony car legend. After a difficult decade with models that had lost much of their sporty character, the Mustang found its essence again, being an accessible, aggressive car full of attitude. The third generation, known as the Fox body, started modestly in 1979, but it was in 1987 that the Mustang GT received its definitive update. Its design was modernized with a sharper, cleaner front end, integrated bumpers, and a look that set it apart from any other car in its category. But what really mattered was under the hood. The return of an engine that would become legendary. The 5.0-liter V8 with electronic fuel injection produced 225 horsepower, a figure that, combined with its low weight and rear-wheel drive, delivered brilliant performance for the time. The Mustang GT 5.0 could accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds and reach a top speed close to 140 miles per hour, performance that put it ahead of most of its direct rivals. Its driving feel was pure Mustang DNA, lively reactions, plenty of torque available at low RPMs, and the ability to roast the tires with just a tap of the throttle. All this was accompanied by a deep, throaty sound coming from its dual exhaust pipes, a true anthem for any American V8 fan. A fun fact is that the Mustang GT 5.0 became a cultural icon thanks to its presence in movies, TV shows, and especially in American street racing culture. It was the car thousands of young people dreamed of owning, the one you could easily modify, and that was always ready for an impromptu quarter-mile run. Today, the Fox body has earned the respect it didn't always receive in its day. Collectors and enthusiasts appreciate its mechanical simplicity, authentic character, and importance as the model that saved the Mustang when it needed it most. A well-preserved GT 5.0 can be found for $20,000 to $40,000, though low-mileage, fully original examples continue to rise in value every year. 1987 to 1989, Pontiac Firebird Trans Am GTA. Did you know that in the 80s, there was an American car that combined the power of a muscle car with the refinement of a luxury grand tourer? It wasn't European, it wasn't a Japanese experiment, it was pure Pontiac DNA. It was called the Trans Am GTA, and for a time, it was the ultimate symbol of power and sophistication among pony cars. The GTA was born as the definitive version of the Firebird, designed for those who wanted everything. Strong performance, imposing design, and a level of equipment that bordered on premium. Visually, it stood out with its integrated bumpers, lowered body, iconic gold mesh wheels, and an interior with more comfort than many European sports cars of its era. Under its long hood lived the star of this story, a 5.7-liter tuned port injection V8 producing up to 245 horsepower and more than 332 pound-feet of torque. These figures allowed the GTA to accelerate from 0 to 60 in just over 6 seconds and reach a top speed of around 137 miles per hour, a level of performance comparable to much more expensive cars. But the Firebird GTA wasn't just a straight-line rocket. Its chassis was tuned with sport suspension, four-wheel disc brakes, and variable assist steering that gave it surprising agility for a car weighing nearly 3,500 pounds. Driving it meant experiencing that blend of American muscle and refinement Pontiac wanted to offer as its calling card to the world. The interior was another of its great strengths. Power leather seats, a digital instrument cluster that looked like it came straight out of a spaceship, and a premium sound system that turned every drive into a sensory show. This level of detail made the GTA an object of desire among young executives and enthusiasts who wanted to stand out without giving up speed. A fun fact is that the Trans Am GTA appeared in countless TV shows and movies of the era, cementing its status as a cultural icon. It wasn't uncommon to see it parked next to European sports cars, proving that American muscle could be just as sophisticated when it wanted to be. Today, the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am GTA has become a highly prized classic, thanks to its rarity and its unique combination of power and luxury. A well-preserved example can be found for between $25,000 and $50,000, depending on condition and originality. And now I want to hear from you. If you had to choose between this Trans Am GTA and its direct rival, the Chevrolet Camaro IROC-Z, which one would you pick? Tell me in the comments. 1987 Buick GNX. This is one of those cars that feels like it came out of a secret conspiracy among engineers determined to create something so wild that no one would ever forget it. In an era of domesticated muscle cars and regulations that choked performance, Buick decided to prove it was still possible to build an American car capable of humiliating European sports cars and any V8 that crossed its path. The story begins with the Buick Grand National, a discreet-looking sedan that was already respected for its surprising performance. But in 1987, as a farewell to the series, an even more extreme version was born, the GNX. Developed together with ASC McLaren, this car was conceived to be the most brutal sleeper of the decade, a wolf in the darkest, most unassuming sheep's clothing Buick could imagine. Under its hood beat an engine that shattered all expectations, a 3.8-liter turbocharged V6 with an intercooler and an advanced electronic management system that at the time seemed like science fiction. Officially, it produced 276 horsepower, but experts agree the real figure easily exceeded 300, and the most impressive part wasn't just the number, it was the 360 pound-feet of torque, available almost right off idle, turning every touch of the throttle into an explosive surge no one would expect from something so understated. Thanks to this boosted heart and a reinforced transmission, the GNX could accelerate from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, a time that, in 1987, made it one of the fastest cars in North America, ahead of many bigger and more famous V8s. Its top speed of around 124 miles per hour didn't tell the whole story, because where it truly shined was in its acceleration and the sheer force with which it shattered every expectation. Aesthetically, the GNX was almost a regular Grand National, but with subtle details only the initiated would recognize. Black mesh wheels, discrete dual exhausts, flared wheel arches, and a speedometer that read up to 140 miles per hour, almost as a provocation. Everything about it screamed, "Don't trust appearances." A fascinating fact is that Buick produced only 547 units of the GNX, making it an extremely coveted jewel. Each car came with a numbered plaque on the dashboard and a special manual warning the owner that they were behind the wheel of something far from ordinary. Today, the Buick GNX is considered the ultimate sleeper and an icon of the 80s. Its market value can easily exceed $120,000, and some ultra-low mileage examples have topped $200,000 at auction. 1990 Chevrolet Corvette C4 ZR-1. Can you imagine driving an American car from the 80s capable of exceeding 175 miles per hour and making Porsche and Ferrari tremble on the highways? It's not a myth, it's not an exaggeration. It's the Corvette ZR1, a sports car that redefined what it meant to be fast in North America, and that even today remains an absolute benchmark of power and technology. The story of the ZR1 began when Chevrolet decided the Corvette needed to become something much more serious, a direct rival to the best European supercars. To achieve this, they turned to Lotus, the legendary British firm, which collaborated on developing a revolutionary engine, the 5.7-liter LT5V8, with 32 valves and dual overhead cams, something unprecedented for a Corvette at the time. This power plant was a mechanical masterpiece with advanced electronic fuel injection and instant throttle response. The result was an official output of 375 horsepower, although engineers knew that in practice many units exceeded 400 horsepower. All this firepower allowed the ZR1 to accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds and reach a top speed close to 175 miles per hour, numbers that placed it squarely in the territory of the era's most respected supercars. Visually, the ZR1 was a wolf in Corvette clothing. At first glance, only the most trained eyes could spot the wider rear end, the unique badge, and the subtle details revealing you were looking at the king of the Corvettes. Its aerodynamic body, endless hood, and pop-up headlights created a silhouette that today is pure 80s collectible. The driving experience was brutal. The engine delivered constant linear power, while the adaptive suspension, oversized brakes, and precise steering turned every corner into a perfect dance between speed and control. The ZR1 was so advanced that for years it was known as the King of the Hill, the Corvette that raised the reputation of the entire model line. An incredible fact is that this car set several endurance and speed records. In 1990, a stock ZR1 managed to cover 5,000 miles at an average speed over 172 miles per hour, a record that proved its reliability and technical superiority. Production was limited, with around 6,900 units built between 1990 and 1995. Today, a well-preserved ZR1 can command prices exceeding $60,000, and examples in immaculate condition or with extremely low mileage fetch even higher sums. And there you have them, the 10 fastest and wildest American cars of the 80s, a decade where the passion for speed stayed alive despite restrictions and change. Each of these cars was more than just a means of transportation. They were symbols of rebellion, ingenuity, and pure obsession with power. Now, I want to know something only you can answer. If you had to choose one of these 80s monsters to keep in your garage, which one would you pick? Tell me in the comments, because your opinion isn't just important. It's part of this community that shares the same passion for American classics. And if you're still hungry for more speed and legendary stories, you can't miss our video about the fastest American cars of the 50s, where it all began. Click now and join me to discover the machines that created the legend. See you there.